Tashi Delek. It's wonderful to greet the students of the Central University of Tibetan Studies. I'm Greg Tuke, and I teach at the University of Washington and also Seattle University, and I'm with Tuke International Consulting. And we're really excited here to begin this course with you all, so thank you for offering to be part of it. Let me begin by telling you a little bit about myself, and then I'll move into what this course is all about and what we'll be doing together. So we start this week, and the reason we got started in this project was because of a conversation that I had with Dr. Tashi Tsering, and we had a Skype call together that was facilitated from a new colleague friend of mine, Lobsang Tsering, who had told me about your university. I had learned of him living in this country a few months ago, and met with him and told him of this idea that we had, in which we wanted to connect and work with students in India. And he said, I have just the university for you and just the right students. And he said, it's a university I went to several years ago, and I think it'll be just perfect. So consequently, we got in touch with Dr. Tsering, who also said he would love to do this, and here we are. So I got into this work really because I knew how important this kind of interaction is between people around the world. And I know that because I've been working in education for a couple decades now, and in the last 10 years been working to create international collaboration, because it's made such a difference in my own life. My background is as a social activist working on social problems, everything from working on issues of poverty to clean water to trying to reduce the number of nuclear weapons in our world. But more recently I've worked a lot on education, because I think education is really, that's the way we help create, I think, a better world. Now, to do that, we've got to figure out how to live in this world together, right? I mean, that's a lot what your studies are about. How do we help improve ourselves and help make for a better world? And I think that happens when we start understanding one another. Now, it used to be the only way to do that was you had to travel to another country, or people needed to travel to yours, and you could interact with other people and get to know them and see how we're similar and how we're different and how we have common interests. But now, with tools like this, these virtual tools, it makes it possible, instead of for just a very small number of people, really for everyone to be able to connect virtually. But there's a problem. And the problem is, first, how do we talk to one another and get to know one another, just in general, even if we're in the same room together? But then the second is, wonder if we can connect virtually like this. How can we have real connections if we're never in the same room together? And then it brings up a third thing, which is, then if we start to understand one another, how could we really work together in teams to be able to really address the problems that we all face? So that's what this course is really about. It's about connecting with each other, not just in the head, but from the heart. It's about how we communicate using these virtual tools. And then it's how we work together in global teams to start understanding social problems to be able to better address them. So that's what we're embarked on, and I'm very excited about it. Now, I've been to India a couple times. I've been very fortunate. One of the organizations I worked with traveled to Dharamsala a couple times and worked with students there at the Tibetan Children's Village, which I know many of you are very familiar with. There's some very interesting stories about my first travels there, a lot of mistakes I made. One of them was I almost got arrested in Jammu for carrying this. This is a backpack banjo, and I can tell you that story later on, but fortunately I did not get arrested and thrown in jail, so was able to live to tell about it for another day. So here's how the project is going to work. First, we need to be able to connect with each other and learn from each other. So the first part is going to be doing that. And in this first week, what you'll be doing is going onto the Facebook that's now been set up, where you're probably seeing this video, and it'll be an opportunity for you to post there something about yourself that you think would be cool for other people to know. And the way we're going to do that is we're suggesting that each of you bring some kind of what I'm calling a cultural artifact that you can take a photo of and post it along with saying something about that artifact that is meaningful to you. And it can be anything. It can be a stone that is important to you. It can be a photo. It can be a picture that you drew. For me, well, I'm a musician, and I play the banjo, and I love playing this, and the reason I love playing it is that it's another way to communicate with people. I love singing. I'm a terrible singer, but I love to sing. And so every time I travel, this is pretty big to carry with me, so that's why I carry my backpack banjo a lot smaller, very easy to carry around, and I play it. And even if we don't speak the same language, music is a universal language that we all know. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you'll post. So each of you will go onto Facebook, say something about yourself and what this object means to you in relation to that. And then the students on this side will do the same with you. One of the reasons I love courses like this is because every time I learn something new and unexpected. Last time I learned that there was a Buddhist temple in my neighborhood less than a mile away, and I had no idea.
Okay, check your camera. Tashidele. My name is Tukuyeshi, and my writer's name is Lunyun Heruka. I'm resident teacher here. I have been teach Tibetan Buddhism and language, also history, past 10 years. So behind me you can see the beautiful stupa and the temple, Tibetan temple we call Tibetan temple. This is called Sakya Monastery of Tibetan Buddhism. This beautiful monastery is established by Sakya Dache Rinpoche and his wife's great uncle Deshung Rinpoche. These two Tibetan lamas came to Seattle in 1960, just after we lost our country, because the University of Washington invited these two masters to teach Tibetan, history, Tibetan culture. For Tibetans, Buddhism is like this beads. You can see here, language is the strength like this one, okay? If you broke this strength, these beads throw away everywhere. So if any Tibetans wanted to keep their Buddhism, this beads or this seed, you should keep this language strength, yeah? The essence of Buddhism and the Tibetan Buddhism is love and compassion and wisdom. This love, compassion means not only like humans to humans, human to human, or your neighbor. We say great compassion for all mother sentient beings. According to Buddhism, all beings became your mother in previous and past lives. All beings means not only humans, cat, a dog, fly, fish, goats, all beings around us. More than once they become your mother and father. Also your like child, your children. So in Buddhism, you must be love for all beings. You must be respect. That's why I think no matter this religion, from Buddha or whatever, this religion is very like precious. It's especially this time, like 21st century. This time, it's very important. Even this thought, no matter it's called religion or not, this thought for love for all beings, look, it's very important. That's why anybody can learn Tibetan Buddhism or Buddhism. It's very simple, very simple. So that's why we open the door for all beings, everybody, especially for University of Washington, the students, teachers, visitors, welcome.
So we're going to do things a little bit different this time. We learned some things from last time. Tenzin was a facilitator there last time. This time, Tenzin will be joined by Nima, and I will be joined by my colleague, Tasha Butler, who I'll introduce to you now.
Tashi Dale. I wanted to introduce myself. I'll be one of the co-instructors with Greg for the program. I've been teaching at UW Seattle for about 11 years. I mostly teach how to do writing and teach students how to do research, and I teach literature and a number of other courses. This is the first time I'll be teaching with Greg. We're really looking forward to working with you. I was raised overseas in Panama, and I'll introduce you to my cultural artifact in a little while. I have 2 kids. We also lived in another country for a number of years overseas. And so I just am looking forward to working with you, and hope that we can develop some good connections and some really good projects to work on together. So I want to show you my cultural artifact. The first thing is, it's a little bag. And it is a bag made by the San Blas Indians in Panama. It's a mola. They call them molas. They're artwork where they have different layers of material that they make. And I was raised there from the time I was 3 until I left to go to school in the US. And then my mother stayed there a total of 20 years. And in my little bag are some things that are characteristic of my life. So this here is a pecan from the pecan tree of my grandmother's house, where we all used to go for more than 50 years for dinners and Christmases and always get together. She had a big pecan tree out front. They're from New Orleans, Louisiana. It's in the south of the United States, so they're all Southerners. The next thing I have is a little rock that my husband found on the beach, and he gave it to me because it has a musical note on it. And it's just kind of characteristic of kind of how crazy he and I and the kids are. The other one is a little nut that my son gave me because it has a little heart. And then one more thing is something called a deer eye. It's another little seed that I used to love. They supposedly look a little bit like deer eyes. And you can find them in Latin America, but I bet you can find them in other tropical countries too. And then the one last thing is, this used to belong to my mother when she was a child. And when I went back to look at all her old stuff, I took it not knowing, this was maybe 25 years ago, not knowing that my son, who would be born 25 years later, wanted to end up being a turtle researcher. So now both of my kids are in college, and that's what he's wanting to do, is become a biologist working with turtles. Anyways, I'm looking forward to meeting you and to getting to know a little bit about each of you, and I think it's going to be fun.
So let's go over what the next steps are going to be in our work together. The first, as I said, is you'll be doing a cultural artifact, posting that image, and then writing about why that has meaning for you. We'll be doing the same on this side. And then Nima and Tenzin will be pairing up people in groups of probably 3, maybe 4 at most. And that small pairing will have as its task over the course of the next 9 weeks to really get to know one another. And we expect that every week, multiple times during the week, you'll be checking in with each other and getting to know one another. Find out about each other's lives, who you are, what's influenced you in your life, and get to know one another. And you can use, you can Skype with each other, do Facebook, post recordings, put up more images of things that mean something to you, share music with each other. I don't know what you're going to do. I mean, a lot of things crazy happen in these collaborations. Like last time, with one of the courses I taught, the students stayed up late at night. A couple of them had this idea about sharing music that was important to them, found out they loved the same songs, and so they made a music video, and it sort of went viral. So I don't know what you all will do, but I'm sure it'll be creative. So the next thing that you'll be doing is that we'll be pairing you up in teams focused around 5 key issues, and here's what they are. And what you'll be doing with each of those issues is doing research on that problem and finding out what you could do to sort of chip away at that problem a little bit. Turn a problem, or what I call a bad scene, into an issue, something specific, immediate, and realizable. And we'll talk more about those terms, but basically it means trying to figure out something that you can really do about it instead of just talk about it. So your global team will be challenged to figure that out by doing research on the problem, find out who else is working on the problem, and try and make some recommendation about what piece of it you think a student group could do something about. That write-up that you do as a global team, and it'll probably be somewhere between, 7 to 9 people, a couple people on your side and 4 or 5 or 6 on our side, that'll come together in this team, and you'll come up with those recommendations and that write-up, and you'll put together a 5-minute to 7-minute presentation on what you found and what your recommendations are. Now, it's not going to stop there. And that's what's really cool about this, because that set of recommendations from each of these 5 teams will be given to the next group of students that take the course next quarter. And we'll have the same kind of thing, a group of students there and a group of students here that'll be working in global teams, and their job will not be to do the research, it'll be to start the implementation of your recommendations. So, this is an action-oriented project, and we're really excited about this. Nima and Tenzin and I, Tasha, have been talking about it, and we're looking forward to what you come up with. Now, those are the key projects. What's going to happen once you start this project will be 3 weeks from now, on October 9th, we'll have our first live video conference. And 2 things will happen in that. First, prior to that video conference, you will produce a video, one video, no more than 5 minutes, that will tell us in summary what you know about us now without having any kind of interaction. What you know or think you know about what people in Seattle are like, what students at the University of Washington might be like, what the culture out here might be like, or your common assumptions about the United States. You can pick any of those things and tell us. And also in that 5-minute video, pose 2 or 3 questions to us that you'd really like to know. We'll do the same about Cuts and Varanasi and Buddhism and about India. and send that to you ahead of time so you have a chance to view it as a class. We'll view yours, and then when we come to the live video conference, we'll then be reacting. We'll get a chance to answer your questions, you'll get a chance to answer ours, and we will talk further about what those common assumptions are. Now, you can have some fun with this because, you know, we all have some crazy notions about what other people are like who we've never met, you know, or about stereotypes. You know, I was saying to Nima, you know, who knows, maybe some of us will say, well, I kind of think most people who are Buddhists, they shave their head, pray all the time, and they're really good and never do wrong. Or you'll say, we kind of think people in Seattle are maybe kind of hippie-ish. I don't even know if that's a term, hippie, anymore, but in my generation it was. Who knows? Or everybody in America is rich. Who knows? Or everybody in India is poor. But we'll kind of take a look at what we think people have as common assumptions about one another. And that'll help us get started on getting to know each other better and deal with those misconceptions. The second part of that live video conference will be an opportunity for each of the global teams, those 5 teams, to get in front of the camera, just your team, and talk and start developing a work plan about how you're going to go about this process of turning your problem into an issue with recommendations about what students might do about that problem to chip away at it. Now again, when Nima and Tensa and I were talking about this, we're not thinking that in 9 weeks, for example, the corruption global team will solve all corruption in India and in the United States. No, I mean, maybe in a 12-week program you could do that, but not 9 weeks. Now, we want you to have recommendations to chip away at the problem. Take on a piece. All right, and then you'll do this live presentation at the end of the 9 weeks. It'll be the 3rd week in November, in which you submit your recommendations ahead of time, your paper. You'll produce a paper, and then you'll work together to figure out how you will present this as a global team live to your audience there in Cuts and live here in our classroom. So, a lot to learn. So what do we think you'll get out of this? Well, 4 things really. The first is, very concretely, you'll get, every student who completes the course will get a certificate of completion that we will send you. That'll have the logo from both Cuts University and University of Washington on it, signifying that you completed the course. And you'll also receive a grade on that certificate that'll either be highly satisfactory, or completed the course. The 3 other things I think will be even more important than that. The first is you'll gain some additional skills in how to work in a virtual global team, because that's a lot how things are getting done in the world and will increasingly get done, both in the business world and if you're going to work on social causes. We've got to be able to work across borders. You'll also, we hope, gain a deeper understanding of what somebody else is like in another country. You know, maybe develop a personal relationship. And who knows, it might go even beyond this course. But you'll learn how you do that if you're never going to meet somebody, how you develop a deeper relationship where you really get to understand somebody who might be quite different or have a lot of similarities that you didn't know with you. And then the 3rd thing is we hope you'll gain some additional skills as a social activist. How do you accomplish something to improve the world more effectively than maybe the skills that you have right now? So that's what we hope happens. We know you'll have a lot of fun with it. It'll be a lot of work. It'll be challenging at times, getting in touch with each other. You'll have to work hard to make that connection because we're 12.5 hours apart. So figuring that out can be a real logistical nightmare. But that's the beauty of being able to connect across the world. So good luck to you, and I'll look forward to seeing you online and in person over the next 9 weeks.